The trick to learning more and having more success is finding the right way to frame the learning process. And this observation seemed really profound to me. It made me wonder, what if you just framed the learning process in such a way that you didn't concern yourself with failure? How much more successful could you be? How much more could you learn? And the next thought was that if this is a real effect, clearly there must be some evidence for this in real life. It made me think of toddlers. It's my boy. I helped make that. They are constantly trying new things, and they certainly aren't concerned with failure. When my son learned to walk, he didn't think about how dumb he might look if he fell down. And as his parents, we didn't punish him if he wasn't successful either. The focus was always on the end goal, and we celebrated the successes with him. I think the way to be more creative is to be curious. And if you think about the most creative group of people on earth, I think it's probably kids. My son could take a bucket and just play with it for 3 hours. And that's amazing with kids, is because they're always questioning and looking and observing and making connections about the world around them. I think that sort of gets beat out of us, in the school system somehow. And by the time we're your guys' age, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm just not creative," right? That's not what you said when you were in kindergarten. I think the most creative people that I know, that I respect, are those who've been able to maintain that kid-like approach and view of the world.
If I can find someone who can do it better than me anyways, I much prefer coming up with the idea, all the functions I want, and having enough knowledge to be dangerous and knowing what's possible and what's not possible. But I'm not an amazing coder, you know what I mean? And so it's I actually enjoy collaborating with people, and so that's another thing where I could spend all my time doing it myself, but it's a better use of my time to be working on 8 projects at once, because I can keep them all. I have different people working on different builds, and then we check in once a week or sometimes every day. Let's review what happened today. Okay, let me help you troubleshoot and debug that, you know what I mean? So being more in that role as opposed to totally in the trenches, that's another thing I kind of do a little bit different than others in my position.
Of course, each failure and setback sucked. It stung. But it was no different than falling in that pit on level 8-1, and they're and you got to go back to the level and try again. It was always okay, that sucked, but what did we learn from that? What can we do next for it? Let's hit it again. And this concept of life gamification is more than just have a positive attitude, right? Or never give up. Because those sort of imply you're having to endure against your true desire to quit. I feel when you frame a challenge or a learning process in the way I'm describing, you actually want to do it. It feels natural to ignore the failures and try again. In the same way, a toddler will want to get up and try and walk again. Or in the same way, you want to keep playing Super Mario Brothers. The point is whatever you do, do it. If you're a sculptor, just sculpt. If you paint, just paint a ton. If you like photography, don't say, "Oh, I'm just not a creative photographer." Just go out and take a ton of pictures and fail and learn from basically what you're doing. By doing this, you sort of discover, you fail and you learn and you get better.
I mean, it took me 6 years to get 300,000 subscribers, and now when I put out a video, I get an increase of 300,000 subscribers in 2 days off an average video now, right? So that's the definition of compounding. And so that's the thing. By just investing in my own brand, in my own channel, eventually people are "Oh, I really like this video. Well, let me see. Holy cow, I like this video and I like this video." So I'm building this back catalog that will continue to be passive income for a really long time, right?
So whether you call it luck or karma or blessings, I think it is helpful to think there's some part of this process that's a little bit out of your control. Because then if you're Thomas Edison and you've built 9,999 light bulbs, you don't say, "I give up," because you realize you trust the process. If you're James Dyson, you built 5,000 vacuums. It's trust the process and keep going. And I'm not saying, don't misinterpret it, that being creative is it's all luck. But my point is as you are creative and you observe and you question your world, as you work hard and you build early and often, you increase your chances of getting lucky. You're basically giving yourself more quarters to flip so you can get 10 tails in a row. And so my punchline today is that
I believe we are all way more creative than we give ourselves credit for. It's just about understanding the process.